I just want to start out by saying thank you for clicking. Please subscribe. In this video, we're going to be covering the drive shaft replacement on this 2008 Cadillac CTS. The job is the same for two-wheel drive and four-wheel drive cars from 2008 to 2014. I had to voice over the first part of this job because I got ahead of myself and started taking the car apart before I started shooting the video. But I got most of the installation and stuff that you need to see in video coming up shortly. But first, just start off by saying you need to get the car jacked up. Here's a picture of the exhaust. This is in your way. You need to totally remove the exhaust. There's a bracket right there in the center that you need to drop down before you can take the exhaust out. There's a couple heat shields too that are up underneath the exhaust that need to come out. But once you get that bracket out of the way, you can head up to the front at your exhaust flange where it meets your downpipe. It's right behind the catalytic converter. There's a couple oxygen sensors there that you need to take out, and then four 14mm bolts on studs, and that will totally loosen up your exhaust. That's what the flange looks like. I broke my studs off from the flange, so I had to drill them out, and I ended up replacing them with some bolts. It's not that hard to do if you get a good drill bit. The holes don't need to be perfect. Just drill them out and put some good hardware in there and anti-seize, and you'll be able to get them out in the future. Alright, you're going to want to start in the back with this flange. You need to mark where all of the bolts line up and the flange meets the guibo. The shaft is balanced. You want to keep all that stuff balanced together. The drive shaft sits on a pilot shaft, so you can go ahead and take out those rear bolts, and the shaft will stay up in the bottom of the car and not fall down, and that's key. Now you're going to want to move up to the front. Okay, here you can see I've got some marks on the drive shaft. You're going to want to keep track of where those spans are between your bolts. You want to try to get all that back together the same way you took it apart. Now, you can mark that any way that fits you best. Take a picture of it. I just suggest taking it apart in a way that you're able to put it back together. Now, those are like T25 torque bits. You're going to take those all loose. And now, once you have that loose, you can move to the carrier bearing. Now, that's the easiest. It's a couple 16mm. Once you get those two loose, the drive shaft will drop down in the center there at the carrier bearing, and you'll be able to pull the front of the drive shaft out of the cup and slide the back off of the pilot shaft. And now you have your drive shaft out. You can take your drive shaft to a drive shaft guy in town with your carrier bearing and have them assemble it for you. Or you can buy the whole assembly online. I think they're like $300, maybe $400. The carrier bearing itself is like $40. So you can go about that how you please. Assembling it yourself is not likely going to be a good deal. So if you're going to buy the carrier bearing, have a drive shaft guy put it together for you. Okay, something else important to note about doing this job, this hanger bearing, drive shaft support bearing replacement job, these bolts here. It's recommended in the service and all the things that I've read to replace these bolts. They come with some goo on them, like some thread lock and like some seal. It's got like this extra rubbery stuff. See, it's like a little ring on there. Obviously it's got the thread sealer, but there's like this weird seal, which I bet matches right up to where a bolt where the bolt goes through here, right where it pops through and goes into the back of the output shaft on the transfer case. So they recommend that you replace those, all of them. They have issues with them backing out, getting loose, causing a vibration. Here's some information on it. We got this from Camargo Cadillac, our local Cadillac dealer. $30 for some bolts and these connections. Now I marked here on this every place one of those bracket spans across, because if a bracket spanned across these two bolts, I don't want to span it across these two bolts. It might change the balancing. Maybe I'm crazy, it hasn't been mentioned, but I'm going to put it back together as close to the way I took it apart as I can. So that's an important thing to look into, is getting those bolts and replacing them and torquing them down to the correct spec. I'm getting ready to reinstall the shaft, and before I tighten them up, I will do another video and let you guys know the torque spec that I'm going to be torquing them to. I'm at the point where I'm reinstalling this drive shaft. Now I've marked each flange bolt. It's numbered 1 through 3, and I numbered the bushing holes 1 through 3. Now granted, I'm shooting this with a phone underneath the car, very little space. But basically, you're going to have to slide the drive shaft over this centering pin. I guess it's a pilot shaft. And I'm just going to slide it over there and line the bolts up with the flange hole that they're supposed to go through, and put a dot of red Loctite on each bolt and tighten them to 69 foot-pounds of torque each. I'll probably go around and do them twice. But I'll get back with you once I've done that. Like I said, there's a pilot shaft you line that up on. Well, to get it lined up, you basically have to put the shaft all the way up in its spot. And I basically held it up underneath the car with my leg and popped it into its spot. Now that isn't timed yet up there. After I get this bolted up and where it's supposed to go, that actually spins inside of itself, so I can just go ahead and spin the shaft and line up the bolts that need to be lined up, and then we'll be good to proceed. But I just wanted to make that clear. I had to hang it, basically put it in, pilot shaft first, get the cup for the transfer case up there where it needs to be, and then tighten down, finger tight, the new carrier support bearing. It's just sitting in there loose right now. I don't want to bind it up, so I'm going to wait to tighten that last. Okay, so here I am at the transfer case, and I'm putting in my new bolts. They have their coating that they're supposed to have, as I showed you in the previous videos. Now I can see, because I marked where the those braces, I marked where those go. So that's how I know where the braces need to be. So once I get these all started and I go to torque it down, I'll get back with you. Car's in neutral. Lined up my marks, car's in neutral. You kind of got to knock the cup in there a little bit, or you got to knock this into this cup. It's a little tight squeeze, but get it in there, see if the bolts line up, and then we'll torque it. Alright, all the bolts are now turned in and just barely tightened. So everything's nice and flat. I'm going to go around and start tightening them in a star pattern until I get close to their torque spec, which is 29 pounds. 29 foot-pounds. Back again, my YouTube Cadillac enthusiast, fellow Cadillac enthusiast. So, I read a service bulletin on this bracket here earlier in the project, and they said that these two holes in the bracket that go up into the bottom of the car for the support bearing, you might want to grind out the eyelets on this bigger than they are, because sometimes they don't line up well, and when you put the bolt in, it can jam up this bearing. Now this thing can move around pretty easy. I got it wedged up in there with a 2x4 so I could work on it, and my flash on my phone isn't working because it's dead. Sorry about the light. But basically I took a knurling bit and just dropped this down a little bit and knurled out the section in the whole. I don't know if you can see, I ground out that one corner a little bit on that one and on this one. Looks like you can see a little better on this one. Yeah, you can see it there. After doing that, the bolts go up into the holes through the bracket nice and straight. It was actually, the bracket was catching on the threads before, so I decided to take it down, knurl out those holes bigger, and reinsert the bolts, because I don't want this bracket to get jammed up and put pressure on this support bearing. And I'll be back in here doing this in 20,000 miles or something. So, wanted to add that. Sorry about the lighting conditions. Like I said, the flash isn't working on the phone, so I got to use my handy dandy rechargeable DeWalt light. And gotten these tightened up, 39 foot-pounds, and I marked each bolt with a line, so if they come loose later on I can see that. Alright fellas, this is where my limited experience at the time came back to bite me. My phone died. I say that those are torqued to 69 foot-pounds. Basically, you got the job done at this point. You need to hang up your heat shield, get your exhaust back in there, and then there's that small little cross member bracket we went over earlier that you need to reinstall. But that's it. If you guys got any questions, please comment. Thank you so much for watching to this point if you made it. I'd really appreciate if you would subscribe. I've got other videos on my channel of this car. I've probably done 20 jobs and recorded them. This was one of the first ones I ever did, so the quality of this video isn't very good, but I can promise you the other ones are better. But hey, I hope this video was helpful, and thanks again. I really appreciate your views, and I really hope you subscribe and get this job done. Thanks again.